The sanguine. The symbol for the sanguine is the wind. The wind is everywhere. But the wind is light, and that is the sanguine. The sanguine can affect anyone and everyone. It can change the mood of any of the temperaments, and all the temperaments like sanguines and also dislike them for different reasons. Now, the sanguine is energetic, so they are sociable, they have an optimistic approach to life, they are quick to adapt, just like the wind. They endure, they have well balanced emotions. Now, it is common to find sanguines in roles like media, where they sit behind the console and talk and laugh with their listeners all day long. A choleric does not mind that. But as we said, just like the wind is light, cholerics are often light, as in naive. And we shall look at all these things in their strengths and weaknesses. So let us go ahead and then look at some of the strengths of the sanguine. The sanguine is optimistic. They also, like the choleric, does not see hurdle, but not because they have analyzed the situation and seen the hurdle and decided, I am ignoring this, I am crushing it, I'm going my way, I'm going straight to achieve the goal. It is more because they don't really actually analyze things enough to see the hurdle. But because of that, if you have a sanguine in your group or in an office setting, whatever idea or suggestion that is brought up, you get the sanguine gearing people up. Yes, we can do it. Let's go on. Let's achieve it. This is us. So they are the fun boys or the fun girls who, when you have in your team, they spur everybody on. So yes, they are optimistic. And as Elias said, the sanguines are talkatives. A sanguine does not mind talking all day long. You go to a family meeting or a family gathering, it is the sanguines you often see who is talking to this auntie 1 minute and then talking to this grandma the next minute. There are certain things you may look at grandma and say, how could you say that to grandma? But don't be surprised if you see the sanguine sitting on grandma's lap and laughing with grandma. That is the sanguine. The sanguine is a talkative. I'm adding some of the characteristics. They are warm, they are approachable. And because of these collective strengths, people love to have sanguines in their midst because they bring light into dark tunnels. It is sanguines who, when cholerics have made a mood heavy or have made the presence of the room heavy, is a sanguine who walks in and makes everything light. And should I say rubbishes things that the choleric has said. So in an office setting, let's say if the choleric is the leader, the choleric will come, do this, do that, do this, and then walks away, and everybody is quiet. Everybody is moody. And then the sanguine gets up and says something to make everybody laugh, and then makes fun of the boss. And then everybody is calm, and then the work goes on. So obviously, when you have the choleric in a relationship, the sanguine in a relationship, you're going to have fun. If you date a sanguine, you're going to be laughing all the way. The sanguine will come up with new ideas to have fun. Today you'll be here, tomorrow you'll be there. So sanguines often how do I, for the word of, let me see what's the word they often excel in their relationship in the first few months. The first few months or years or a year or so of being with a sanguine, oh, you're going to laugh all the way. It will be Christmas every day. So, yes, they're talkatives, they're warm, they're easily approachable. If you go to a new place, if you're new there, it is the sanguine who is likely to make you feel welcome, because he will look at you or she will look at you and say, hey, do you know me? Yeah, you don't know me, right? You probably have seen me on TV with Angela Merkel. Something to make you laugh. And then, breaks down the tension in the room. So they are approachable. They are sincere and helpful. The sanguines are one of the temperaments with clear hearts. They hardly have or harbor ill feeling for people. And when a sanguine says, I'll do X for you, or I'll do Y for you, it normally is because they want to do it for you. Of course, when we get to some of their weaknesses, just like we did with the choleric, we are going to do a comparison, or we see how they complement each other. And you would understand why sometimes, even though they are sincere and helpful, they may come across as not so. But indeed, the sanguine is a sincere and helpful temperament. Sanguines are independent. By independent, what we are trying to say is, because they are like air, they don't enjoy being bossed around too much. That is why they often come into contact or come into conflict with their choleric. They do not like to be bossed around too much. They are an independent mind, so you are likely to see them challenging or coming up with ideas that are contrary to what leaders might come up with. They don't care. That's their opinion. And that is why sanguines often excel in the media space as journalists, because they ask questions. They do not care or fear repercussions. So these are some of the strengths of the sanguine temperament. Let us look at some of the weaknesses of this temperament. The sanguine is forgetful. The sanguine is forgetful. If you have been with a sanguine before, this is one of the leading characteristics of sanguines. The sanguine will make a plan with you today and for next week. And if it is not a plan to have fun, the sanguine is likely to forget that you had any plans. You are likely to see the sanguine talk about losing his or her car keys or room keys almost every other day. Where did I put my phone? Where did I put my car keys? That is the sanguine. They are so light, they are so like air. They are everywhere, they are all excited, energetic. So they hardly focus on one thing. And because of that, they easily forget what they were up to some minutes ago. Sanguines are naive. Sanguines do not like delving deep into issues like the choleric would do, as in see the hurdles and then ignore them. That's what the choleric would do. But the sanguine would not even analyze to see hurdles. So let me merge this explanation with the superficial. So they talk about plans. If a sanguine wants to do business, they talk about plans as to wishing to enter this business, wanting to start, let's say, selling products online. But then the sanguine is not going to delve deep into, okay, what's the cost of social media advertisement? Are we going to do photo shoots? What's going to be the cost? Who are our target audience? When and where can we find them? These things that advertisers are expected to do to be able to reach their target audience. The sanguine is often not that analytic. The sanguine is often not that analytic. So in the media, for instance, they want you to do the job, tell them, and then they would finish it off. So for example, if a sanguine is supposed to gather data, they prefer someone else to gather the data, give them the information, and then they will run with it. So in the media space, you often find other temperaments being the producers of a show, and then they gather the information and then they give it to the sanguine, and then the sanguine runs with it. But if you leave it to the sanguine to gather data, more often than not, the sanguine may not do in-depth research or analysis to be able to come up with critical questions to ask. Or yeah, sanguines are very demanding. They like things to be done their way, and this is often seen when they are in relationships. When they are in a relationship, you would see that they hound their partners to give in to their way, to this way or that way. So for instance, if you're a lady, or even if you're a gentleman, you would realize that your sanguine partner could, for instance, if you have decided to stay chaste until marriage, the sanguine is likely to make you break your promise to God or to whatever reason that you may have decided to stay chaste. So a lot of people have lost their virginities to sanguines because of their the joy they bring, the excitement, they make you laugh. When they are demanding, you may not see it clearly and see it as a sign of love or affection rather than it being annoying, because even the way they will go about it would make you laugh, or would make you would shroud the annoyance of the whole episode, and before you know it, you have given into whatever it is that they are requesting for. So sanguines are very demanding, and they have poor self-control. Sanguines have poor self-control. So you, just like the choleric, where they are unable to manage their temper, the sanguine can be happy or exceedingly happy or excited this minute, and then the next minute they are angry. And sanguines are not good at hiding their emotions. So if a sanguine is happy, everybody in the room sees that the sanguine is happy. If the sanguine is sad or angry, everybody in the room sees that the sanguine is angry or unhappy, because they are unable to control themselves or their emotions. And because people like them, people often see the change, because this person is always jovial, always, skipping and whistling all the way, and then there's a down tone. So immediately people realize, hey, what's wrong with you, Sam? What's wrong with you, Sarah? And then, there you go. Sanguines are good at exaggeration. Of course, because they are good talkers, they are good storytellers. If again you are in a group with a sanguine, and the sanguine is telling, a sanguine can narrate something that happened on his or her way to the office, and then everybody would burst out in laughter. It could be as simple as getting into the bus and saying hello to the driver, or saying hello to someone in the bus. But the way the sanguine would narrate it with these exaggerations, you would think it was something else. Now, this is, yes, a strength, because they're good storytellers and they're talkers, but it is also a weakness, because sometimes it is difficult to know where to draw the line with sanguines. You often see people saying, I don't take this person seriously, because they often exaggerate, and you don't know when they are telling the truth, or when it is getting out of hand. So it is just like the story of the boy who cried wolf. So over and over again they exaggerate, and then it gets to a point where people do not know when they are exaggerating or when they are serious. And so that is often a challenge for them when they are with people. Sanguines are stubborn. Sanguines are stubborn. And because they are independent, remember, they often like to do things their way. And until they go hit the wall, they often do not like to take advice. So let us add the non-resilient character of the sanguine. And of course, non-resilience could also be looked at as a strength, but over here we're looking at it from the lens of a weakness. So non-resilience over here is the sense that sanguines give up easily. Sanguines give up easily. So as earlier mentioned in the example of setting up a business, if a sanguine meets one hurdle, meets the second hurdle, the sanguine is likely to easily give up right now and then move on to something else. And in relationships, these things are seen. Sanguines, because of their non-resilience, when they face challenges in the office or in a relationship, they will soon break up with you. They do something you do not like, you share it with them, they become moody because they have poor self-control. And then the next thing you know, they say, you know what, let's break up. Because they can't handle this stress. They can't keep at it. If they see a challenge, they just go. The choleric will step over the challenge. The sanguine will go around it. And if they cannot go around it, they go back or look for a different route. So that is another weakness of the sanguine. So let us look at the sanguine in the workplace. So the sanguine, as we've said, is optimistic. So you need them in your team to be able to cheer up people, to be able to let people see the good side or the positive side of things, because that is what they focus on, because they don't like negative energies. They don't like things that make them sad. They don't like things that put pressure on themselves, on their brains. So they always look at the positives. So they are optimistic. They usually possess above average communication skills. So you often see sanguines in communication roles, public relations, public speaking. That's because they enjoy talking. So over the years, they have learned how to do it better. They have learned how to manage their tonations, how to get people, what stories to tell, to get people to follow them or to toe the line that they would want to toe. So the sanguine can be a good leader in the sense that they're able to rile up people. Get people going, like with their charisma. But because they are disorganized and because they are not really deep thinkers, they often do not excel for long. They excel in the part of people loving them, being excited that the boss is around. People look forward to going to work because they have a sanguine boss who would come, walk to them, sit on their desk and say, hey, how was your night? How was your daughter? And then they will even mention your child by name. So people would love that. But the choleric, the sanguine is forgetful, the sanguine is naive. So often these are not characteristics of someone who can be a good leader. So they often fall along the way. So it is often good to have a sanguine complementing a choleric in the leadership position. Now, the sanguine is disorganized. So they may appear to not be serious about anything, as we earlier said. So if you want something done and you give it to the sanguine, you ought to make sure every few minutes, if you need it, you give it to the sanguine this morning and you need it at 3 p.m. later in the day, you would have to ask the sanguine about it every 2 hours, because the sanguine is likely to forget about it or or do something else. And remember, they are independent thinkers, so they don't normally think, oh, I have to do this, and then they get scared. No, they would give themselves some excuse and move on to do whatever it is that they are up to. So you would need to be on their case every minute to ensure that they follow a certain routine or a certain way of doing things in the organization. To add to that, they trust others to do the work. They trust others to do the work. Give the sanguine a task to do. Give the another temperament a task to do. Leave them. When you return, you might find out the sanguine is sitting there telling stories while the other temperament is doing all the work happily. So that is sometimes a characteristic of the sanguine. The sanguine is able to convince the other temperaments to do something for them as a favor, as a friend. Hey, can you do this for me? I need to run an errand. And then out they go to the pub to sit down to chat with some people. So that is how the sanguine sometimes often acts in the office. And the sanguine is afraid of being unpopular. And that is one of the things that the cholerics have over them. You see, the choleric does not fear anyone. The choleric does not care what you think. The choleric does what he or she thinks is best and then walks away. But the sanguine, in his or her jovial nature, cheerful nature, being able to get people to follow them, etc., they do not like being unpopular. So if they are in an organization where they can't walk in and say, hey, how are you, John? How are you, Mary? Hey, Marcus, last night was great. If they are not in an organization where they are popular, sanguines often leave. Sanguines often leave. And just like the cholerics, they get bored easily. But choleric gets bored and tries to do something about it. But the sanguines get bored and then, with the choleric gets bored and does something about it by trying to change the status quo, activism. But the sanguine is likely to just walk away, look for different ventures. So sanguines often do not spend long in a career or in a position. 2 years here, 3 years here, 1 year here, and then it's gone, moving on to another venture. Because remember, they like to explore. They like to explore. Now, because they are afraid of being unpopular, and because the cholerics often point them out, you remember, cholerics don't like people who are lazy. Sanguines are often lazy. So cholerics often use sanguines as examples. And because of that, sanguines fear if he chides me in front of everyone, I might be unpopular. So you often find the sanguines and the cholerics at each other's throat in the office, because the sanguine is threatened by the fact that they may become unpopular, they may become a laughing stock, people may ignore them. And then the choleric also does not want a situation where people do not respect them, people do not follow their orders. So yeah, whether there's a clash of temperaments. Sanguines also like people who listen to and laugh with them and praise and approve of them. Of course, as I said, they are afraid of being unpopular. So they dislike people who criticize them, like the cholerics, and people who don't respond to humor. When they come in and they share a joke with you, they expect you to laugh. They expect you to also be nice as they are. And if you're not like that, after trying a number of times to make you laugh, and then if you don't, they don't like you anymore. So, in summary, those are some of the characteristics of a of a sanguine. Why do I keep saying choleric? Characteristic of a sanguine. So if you have any questions, if you want any clarifications, please feel free to make a comment in the comment section, and I shall address it. Let's move on to the next temperament.